Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. So I am so excited for today's video. I am going to be showing you how I make kombucha at home. It is seriously so easy. It's laughable. I was showing you guys the other day on my Instagram that I had made it myself, and so many of you were asking me to show you how to make it. You guys, it is so easy, and once you have all the supplies, it will cost you far less than what you pay for when you buy it individually at the grocery store. I have done videos here on my channel about gut health, as well as a whole video on probiotics as well. So if you haven't watched those videos yet, that will give you some really great context as to why I drink kombucha, why it's great for the gut, and why consuming fermented foods or probiotics on a regular basis is just a really kind of just a healthy habit to be, in the habit of. So kombucha is a really easy way to do that. I never used to buy it that often. It was more like a treat when I would go to the store here and there, just because it's expensive. But now I've seriously been drinking it every single day. I love it, and it barely costs me any money, which is like, ah. Making kombucha is actually so incredibly simple. There's barely any steps involved. It just like takes some time. But once you get into the groove, it's kind of like a set it and forget it thing, and you're gonna have like new, fresh kombucha being churned out at home all the time. So I'm going to walk you guys through all of the steps to make it at home. Like I said, super easy, but first I just want to quickly go over all of the stuff that you need. So as far as supplies, there's only a few things you're gonna want to, pick up if you don't already have. And the first one is just you're gonna need a pot to boil some water in. I just like using a big pot on the stove. You're also going to need some kind of big glass jar to, actually make the kombucha. That's where you're gonna ferment the tea. I will show you mine in a second. And then lastly, you're going to need bottles to actually bottle the kombucha. So the bottles that I use for my kombucha are these ones right here. They are just glass 16-ounce bottles. I got these off of Amazon. It was like a pack of 6 for like 20 bucks, so pretty, affordable. But I want to point out that these are, they have like a really airtight seal, which is really important when you're making kombucha, because having a super airtight seal is what's going to help it get very fizzy. If you just use like a regular bottle or maybe like a mason jar, it's probably not going to get quite as fizzy. So I just want to make sure that I pointed that out. Okay, so those are the supplies that you're going to need. And then as far as ingredients, the first one is just filtered water. We're gonna be making tea, so we're obviously gonna need some water. And then obviously to make some tea, we're gonna need some tea. So I believe most people use black tea. I've been using green tea because I just already had it and it's been working just fine. So this is just organic, this is decaffeinated green tea. And then also you're going to need some sugar, some plain old sugar, because we need the bacteria to be able to eat something, and aka ferment the sweet tea. So sugar is necessary. So we're just gonna be putting a little bit of sugar in there. Next, in addition to your sweet tea, you're also going to need some previously brewed kombucha. So if this is the first time you're ever making it, you don't have anything to work with, just run to the store and find some plain kombucha, not one that's already flavored. You want to make sure that it's plain, but just grab a bottle of that. You're never going to need it again. After that, you can just use parts of like the batches that you're already making. So in here, this is the jar that I have, and you can see that there is some kombucha in there. But the star of the show, you guys, is actually the SCOBY. And I don't know if you can see that lovely thing floating on the top there. It's super cute. But basically a SCOBY stands for symbiotic culture of bacteria and yeast. I don't know why I can remember that. But so that floppy bacteria disc that you see floating at the top of my kombucha, that's my SCOBY. And basically that is where all the bacteria and cultures live. It's what's actually going to be fermenting the sweet tea. So you're definitely going to need a SCOBY. That is absolutely necessary to make your own kombucha. And there is a few ways that you can acquire a SCOBY. So you can make one yourself. I made that one myself. It actually was huge. That's only like a little teeny tiny part of what my kombucha, or what my SCOBY originally was. But you can make it yourself at home. I will leave some instructions below. It's super easy. It's basically the same steps as making kombucha. You just let your own SCOBY grow. The second option is if you have a friend or a family member, someone in your area, maybe you can like stalk some Facebook groups. If you have someone that lives near you that makes their own kombucha at home, they're obviously going to have a SCOBY, and they can definitely like slide one of the layers off of their SCOBY and give it to you, and then you will have your own SCOBY. And then lastly, you can actually order SCOBYs online. You can order them and they come dehydrated, but they do take like a couple weeks to rehydrate. You can't, like, as far as I know, as far as what I've seen online. You can't like immediately start using them. You have to rehydrate them, and it takes a couple weeks. And in that time frame, you could have grown your own SCOBY. It's honestly probably just cheaper to go that route, but totally up to you. I will leave the exact recipes and, you know, ratios that I'm using down below, but for the recipe that I'm making today in this video, it makes about 3 of those 16-ounce bottles, which if you drink like 8 ounces of kombucha a day, that is actually a decent amount. But you of course can always, you know, cut the recipe in half. You can double it, triple it, whatever you want to do. So the very first thing I do is just get some water boiling. So I will throw a big pot on the stove and I will add 8 cups of filtered water and then just let that come to a boil. And once it's boiling, I, you know, take it off of the heat, add about 4 tea bags and let them steep for about 20 minutes. And then once the tea is done steeping, I will then go ahead and add the sugar, which is about 3/4 cup, and I will just stir that in to make sure the sugar completely dissolves. And then once I add the sugar, I just put the pot aside and let it just completely cool to room temperature. And once it has reached room temp, I will add those 8 cups of sweet tea to my big kombucha jar. And I always have, I leave a half a cup of the old or previous batch of kombucha. I leave a half a cup in there because you need a little bit of that starter batch to just get things going. So I have a half a cup in the big jar, and then I add the 8 cups of sweet tea in addition. And then the very last thing I need to do is just flop my cute little SCOBY in there, and then I just cover it with a paper towel. You could use like a dishcloth or cheesecloth. I just use a paper towel and cover it with a rubber band, and then I put it up in a cabinet where it's dark for about 9 days. The longer that you let the kombucha brew and sit, the more vinegary it will be and the less sweet. I take it out around 9 days, but you could take it out a little sooner, like 7 days, or you could go a little bit longer. Doesn't really matter at the end of the day. Just kind of experiment and find what you like best. And after about 9 days, this is what you will be left with. So you can see that there's like some yeast floating around in there. It's like a nice golden color. My SCOBY is floating right at the top. So this is considered the first fermentation. So you first let it sit for 9 days or so, and that ferments it and actually creates kombucha. So you can technically, you know, chill this and drink it just like this if you want it, but typically what people will do is do a second fermentation, and this is where you can flavor it and add fruit juice so that it actually has like more of a flavor to it. And also the second fermentation is what is going to make it super fizzy. So you can use whatever kind of juice you want. You can experiment and just kind of pick whatever kind of flavors you want to use to flavor your kombucha. I have been using pineapple juice recently. I actually got this from like my local farmer's market. It's like fresh squeezed pineapple juice. It tastes like heaven, and it is so good in kombucha. Any flavor will taste, you know, taste good. Do you hear my dogs? Any flavor will taste good, but oh my god, I'm like loving the pineapple juice. So now that I have my fully brewed kombucha and I've got my pineapple juice ready to go, I'm gonna take those 16-ounce bottles. Like I said, this batch makes 3 bottles of kombucha, and I'm gonna put 1/4 cup of that pineapple juice into each of the bottles, and then I'm just going to fill up the rest with the plain kombucha. Then I'm gonna take those bottles, put them back up into that dark cabinet, away from everything, and let them sit for another 5 days. So during that 5-day period, the flavor is just going to really improve, and also this is when we're gonna get that major carbonation, which makes it so fizzy and satisfying. So from start to finish, it takes about 2 weeks to make kombucha, so it does take a while, but it's like hardly any work. You just kind of set it and forget it. But once you get into the groove and you're making batches consistently, it's not gonna take you a full 2 weeks to have new kombucha to drink every time, if that makes sense. Definitely let me know if you guys try this out. It really is so easy and like so not something to be intimidated by. And if you enjoy drinking kombucha, you're trying to make an effort to get more fermented foods and probiotics into your life, this is such a good way to do it because it really does not cost a lot of money, like at all. Once you have all the supplies, you literally just have to buy tea and sugar. That's it. It's just so awesome and just a cool thing to make at home, and feels like really empowering once you make it. You're like, oh my god, like I can do this. I can make my own kombucha. So I hope that you guys enjoyed this video. Definitely let me know if you do try it, and if you do, let me know what fruit juices that you're trying and you're loving, because I am like totally open to like experimenting and trying all the flavors. But that is it for today's video. Definitely give it a thumbs up if you enjoyed it. And of course, subscribe to my channel. I would love to have you here in my little community on YouTube. And obviously you can follow me on Instagram as well. I'm on there all the time and would love to hang out with you on there. But like I said, that's it for today's video. Thanks so much for watching again, and I will see you guys in the next one. Bye.